Thank you so much for taking some time on a Friday. I know today's Friday. You could have been doing anything, but I'm really excited for to talk to you because this is a very I wouldn't say unique, but something that I'm very excited to talk about because I know we had partnered previously last year, then and then we had partnered again for your current job, right? So just for like some of the folks who are watching, she just accepted an offer at Amazon as a senior financial analyst, which is super exciting. And we had a lot of deadlines facing us, right? H-1B, we had 60 days or something like that. So I remember when I got that, text like, hey, I'm on this timeline. I was like, oh man, right? So we really went all hands on deck. So I'm super excited to kind of dive into, I guess, like the story and things like that. But I guess, one of my first questions that I want to ask you is, how was your job search before you had reached out to me, for career coaching? And I know, again, we have worked, I guess, twice, one for your first job and then one for Amazon, right? So I guess maybe what was the job search like for each story, for each job?
Yeah. I wasn't getting many interviews or the jobs I really wanted before I reached out. We went to the same school, UW Tacoma, and Amazon's right there. So I always wanted to join a big tech company after graduating. And the only big tech interview I had was with Amazon, and I failed it pretty badly in the first round. After that, I started to read books or watch YouTube videos about interviews. The more I read or watch, the more confused I was because most of them provide general advice, and the advice even contradicted itself from one source to another. You have one YouTuber say, never do this in a job interview, and the other one say, do this. And I'm like, okay, what should I do? So back then I knew I had valuable experience, but I didn't know how to communicate effectively during the interviews.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, that's also something that's cool because I remember when I saw so for the folks who are watching, I used to do resume writing or LinkedIn optimization on Fiverr. And I remember when I saw you place an order and I looked at like your resume, I said, hold on, UW Tacoma? Because for some context, I had my undergrad and graduate degree in accounting. So it was kind of cool to kind of see how we came from the same school. And again, I think that's a good segue to my next question where I think your first order was for resume and LinkedIn optimization, right? Mm-hmm. So what made you come back for like another round of career coaching after that was done?
Mm-hmm. After I saw the revised resume you sent back, it was so concise, accurate, and very data-driven. It captured my experience way better than I ever could, or all the career advisor I've worked with at school. So after you sent me the revised resume, we had a call to talk about it. And then I asked you, do you do career coach as well? Because I really like the way you did to the thing you did to my resume. And you said, yeah, you also do that. And the reason I keep coming back is the quality of your coaching and advice. You took time to understand my background, my goals, and challenges I was facing, and your recommendation was tailored to me specifically. That made the recommendation much more practical and actionable.
Yeah, I think that was because I always have like a system in place for like the resume and LinkedIn. I always like to write the full picture of your work experience. And that's usually what the LinkedIn, I guess, template is, right? Because then based on what target roles that you're applying for, then we can easily just kind of pick and choose the bullet points from the LinkedIn template to put on your resume. So it's very tailored, right? So no, that's super cool to hear. I think, and again, we've worked, I think, twice, one for Onsemi and one for Amazon. Right. So I guess for both of those job searches, what were the biggest challenges or maybe biggest obstacles that you faced first for, I guess, Onsemi, and two, when we were ramping up for Amazon?
So for Onsemi, for Onsemi, the biggest challenge would be I have this experience, and then before I do get some interviews, not with the big company, but most small companies, and those interview feels like casual conversation rather than professional interview. So I knew like maybe something wrong with my resume because I'm just not getting big companies interview, and that's why I reach out for the resume writing. And then I really like your style, so we start to do the career coaching.
Right.
And for Amazon, honestly, even I have a 60-day deadline, but it wasn't too bad because you provide a systematic way for every stage of my job search.
Mm.
Instead of trying to figure out everything on my own, I knew exactly what to do at each step. And I know like you were there to guide me through the process. So for those two job search, I think it's a lot better than the one I did all by myself.
Mm.
Before working with you, my biggest challenge was getting interviews and doing well once I got them. My resume and LinkedIn Learning wasn't telling my story. I didn't even have a LinkedIn profile back then.
Yeah.
And I struggled with interview preparation. I did not know what interviews are looking for, how to organize my story, or how to approach different type of questions. So I got a lot better at telling my stories after partner together with you.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point. I think I remember I mentioned this to you, right? Like sometimes when I work with clients, they don't focus on the interview prep until they get the interview. And for me, like interview prep should be kind of woven into your general career strategy throughout the week. You shouldn't wait till you get an interview to do interview prep, right? So I think it was really cool to kind of, understand all the different examples, all the different stories that you had, synthesize it into like the STAR method, right? Answering some of these general questions like, hey, tell me about yourself. Hey, why this company? Why this role, right? And I think that really helped, in this job search process too, in addition with making sure that your job application strategy was also very optimized too, because there's a lot of clients that I work with that they have like a spray and pray approach. They'll have one resume and they'll apply for like hundreds of job apps. I'm like, hold on. We have to make sure we balance the volume of the job applications with the quality of them, right? So no, that's really good. In terms of like the your biggest light bulb moments or your biggest, oh, this is starting to make sense. Like, could you walk me through maybe a couple or however many things that started to make sense during this coaching program? I know interviewing was like a big part of what we focused on for Amazon, but just curious to see from your perspective, what are some of the things, I call them light bulb moments that went on as we did our career coaching.
Yeah. Last year, 2025, the first time we worked together, my biggest light bulb moment was realizing interview is more about preparation. You gave me a structured way to prepare. You helped me build a list of interview questions, and you asked me to practice them repeatedly. And you even said like, practice.
Oh.
And I'm like, what do you mean? So I just, every day I would read out those questions. And then after that, we went through mock interviews.
Mm-hmm.
You also coached me on things I never paid attention before, like my body language, my tone of voice, and facial expression. That changed how I presented myself in interviews. Mm-hmm. For, last year was really about, before I have no clue about how to prepare. So last year is like, it's really about preparation. I really have to practice a lot. And then this year, since I have that foundation, this year the light bulb moment for me is master how to answer behavioral questions without relying on memorization. Or if I got asked for a question I never prepared for, I wasn't sure how to answer, like how much details do I include and what information was actually relevant. And to help me overcome that, you have conducted so many mock interviews with me, and the process is you ask me a question, I answered it, and you provide immediate specific feedback, and then we just repeat this process. Through all of that, I stopped relying on memorization and had a solid understanding of how to answer those questions, because I now know what the interviewers are looking for and how to organize my thoughts.
Yeah, that is definitely something that I'm glad we kind of worked together on, because I always tell folks like, hey, don't memorize the script, memorize the framework. It's always really good to see an example that you personally went through that's written out in a really great way, right? But at the end of the day, like if you get asked a question that you weren't ready for and then you are memorizing it, you're gonna be like, so it's better to memorize the framework so that it actually doesn't matter what question you get asked from your past, right? You can always apply the STAR method or whatever interview framework you like to use for behavioral questions right away. So I think that was super, and hopefully, hopefully it wasn't too annoying, because like I remember every single time you would do your situation and task, and I would stop you, or like every single time you do your answer, I would be like, okay, here's the feedback. So
here's something you're missing. And I remember like the second day was Amazon interview. The night we were practicing again, and you have a tab of Google Sheet, and you wrote benchmark. You make that size 45, because that's one thing I keep forgetting.
yeah, making sure just benchmark your metrics, make sure that like all these like words to make sure that you remember during your interview. I think also like for that specific interview too, I don't encourage folks to do this every single time you have an interview, or maybe you should, is we use the job description. There was like the specific team at Amazon. It was mentioned there, right? And we had used that to find people on LinkedIn who worked on that Amazon team. And then we analyzed their work experience on their LinkedIn profile. And if they had bullet points, we kind of grabbed it, right? So we were able to find around, I think, 15 or 20 LinkedIn profiles where people actually put content on Amazon for their work experience. And then it helped inform a little bit more of the job that you're interviewing beyond what was already written on the job description, right? So the things like the specific metrics to think about, the stakeholders you'll be thinking about, the different frameworks, things like that. So I also thought that aspect of interview prep was pretty cool, because it gave you like an extra layer or an extra dimension of info that wasn't on the job description already, that helped inform your interview prep, right?
Yeah. And for someone like me, I work for a few small companies, and I think the biggest the biggest difference when it comes to interview between a small company and big company, I feel big company are expect you to be in the role during the interview. They will be, okay, imagine you are here and you are solving this problem. Maybe it's a real problem they're solving at their team. So they are expecting you to know how to solve, or at least like you have a thought process. For a small company, they are more like, oh, it's just questions. They are not expecting you to know everything about the role or the job itself. So I think that's the biggest difference, the bar difference. Like the big company bar is higher. They're expecting someone who know how to solve their existing problem. Small company, I never got asked for a question like, oh, imagine we hire you today and tomorrow. How would you handle this situation or issues?
Yeah, actually, that's actually a good point. I'm glad you brought it up, because it's almost like when you have these interviews, you're already qualified. You already have like the qualifications, like the foundation of what they're looking for. Now they're looking for, can you wear the hat of the role? Can you interview as if you were already a senior financial analyst at Amazon for this specific team? And that's kind of the reason why we did, a combination of reading the job description, doing like our research on like Glassdoor or Fishbowl, but more importantly, like analyzing all those LinkedIn profiles, and then trying to make like, okay, here's what it means to be a senior financial analyst at Amazon for this specific team. And I think a lot of that helped inform like the direction of our interview prep, inform a lot of like the keywords or like responsibilities that they were looking for, and it just helped you interview as if you already had the role. I also do remember that this is such a random thing, but when I interviewed for Google, this is like a mindset thing. I put Google on my resume as if I already got the job, just to try to envision the success. So I think like a day before your interview, I had sent you just like your resume, but it was updated to say Amazon senior financial. And then we looked at it, we said, this looks pretty cool, right? So that's like, I don't know, that's like a whole, it's like a mindset thing. It's something, that I do, but I don't know. It was pretty cool to like kind of envision it too, right? Because there's also things beyond interview prep that helps. So
yeah, and I think that's not only just help me getting the job, it's also going to help me to perform better at the job, because I haven't started work yet, but I already know what I'll be facing, what's the issue is. That's going to speed up the orientation process, I think, like help me do the actual work.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think all right, I have a couple more here. In terms of like partnering together, and we already kind of touched on this, so it doesn't have to be like too long, but what did you find like the most helpful in, working together? It could be like any part of the career coaching aspect. And I know we had already touched on a lot of this, earlier, but if there's something that you wanted to bring up.
It's hard to just pick one thing because really everything worked together from resume writing, LinkedIn optimization, interview preparation, and then overall job search strategy and mock interviews. Like each piece played an important role. And I remember you said small wins counts. And I think that's like exactly what happened. Every small improvement made me a stronger candidate. And all of those small wins ultimately lead to a job offer. So it's really together. It's very hard to say, oh, resume writing is the most helpful part because it's helped me get an interview. But if I didn't prepare, I will fail pretty badly at those interviews again because they ask really hard questions.
Yeah, I remember you sent me like the questions that they asked. I was like, oh man, these are these are pretty tough. But no, glad you got through that too. And I think again, I mean, in terms of like the results of like partnering together through the career coaching program, I mean, you had already alluded to it already, but you were able to sign a senior financial analyst role at Amazon, which is super exciting, right? I think I remember you had texted me, what is it, after on semi, and you said, you know what, I want to go big or go home or something like that, right?
Go big or go home.
I've always wanted to, aim for like these big tech companies. Like, this is, I want to do it. I want to aim for them, or just go home or something like that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
And I was like, all right, let's do it. So then we started, going through the whole process, and now we're here. Now you start in what, 30 days, less than 30 days. But yeah, that was kind of it. I again, thank you so much for kind of sharing a little bit about like the story, like the process of getting through not only just our previous work with Onsemi, but like our current work with Amazon, especially with that timeline. I think from when you texted me to when you signed the offer was around 5 to 6 weeks, something.
Yeah,
like that.
I text you May 6th. That's the day I got laid off, and then we landed offer on June 11th. That's like a month and 5 days.
Okay, yeah, that's insane. So I was very like, I was like, you know what, let's all hands on deck, right? So I'm super happy for you. Keep me posted on how things are going. But thank you for taking some time, especially on a Friday, to kind of share a little bit more about like how we partner together and like your story of getting ultimately to Amazon. So wishing you the best of luck when you start. Keep me posted.
For sure. Thank you.